On the last episode in this mini-series, I spoke a bit about what life was like in school. How everyone who played video games owned a PS2. Except for one kid who had a GameCube. But I covered that in the last video. But there was another kid who had a different console. And by now I'm sure you've figured out what that console is. Unfortunately, I have completely lost touch with that kid who used to own that console. We grew up and drifted apart, and that's basically it, really. I haven't spoken to him in, well over 10 years. Shame, really, but that's just the way it happens. That's just the way it goes. So many gamers back then were big fans of the PlayStation. So, of course, when the PlayStation 2 came out, they all drifted to that really easily. A few people were big Nintendo fans, so they tried out the GameCube. Makes sense, really, doesn't it? But then you got some people who tried the new thing that was out. And that new thing was Microsoft's Xbox. This thing was so strange at the time. I didn't think it would do as well as it had. And if it hadn't been for Halo, it probably wouldn't have done. But it really is a fantastic console. And strong as anything. If you drop it, you'll break the floor. The first time I got to play it was round my friend's house. He invited me over, showed me the Xbox. I sat down, looked at this console, and he passed me a controller for it. And this was one of the original controllers, you know, the really big, fat fucking thing. Yeah, that was a weird controller. Of course they changed it and scaled it down, but at the time it was stupidly big. I then said to him, okay, what games have you got? And he said, I got just the one for you. And it's the one you're seeing in the background now. Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic. This game blew my mind. I've always been a big Star Wars fan. Yes, I'm a big Trekkie as well, but I do like Star Wars. And back then, all you wanted to do when playing a Star Wars game was be a Jedi, or what would eventually be called a Sith. And few games gave you that option, or if they did, they didn't really delve into it, so it didn't feel all that great. But Knights of the Old Republic totally hit the nail on the head. If you wanted to become a Jedi, you could, and it was awesome. Such a great story, such great gameplay, if a little unorthodox. There was a sequel to the game, and to be honest, the first game, it was a better game if you became a Jedi. The sequel, it was more fulfilling if you chose to become a Sith. It's just, the way things played out seemed to be, I don't know, more gratifying for that game as a Sith, more gratifying for this game as a Jedi, and not so much if you did it the other way around, if that makes any sense. The graphics were very impressive for the time. Don't get me wrong, they look kinda crappy now, but The music was awesome, the enemies were cool, the planets you got to go to, well, all but one of them were good. The planet Manan, I think it's called. The water level, basically. Yeah, that got a bit irritating. Especially the fucking aliens there. Selkath, I think they were called. God, they talked weird. They all just seemed to walk around going, Sally runs in ocean like poodles. Needless to say, they were a very weird alien species, and I found them to be quite annoying. Plus, that planet was a lot about politics and shit. Star Wars really got a kick in the knackers when it went down that political bullshit route. I blame the Phantom Menace, 100%. Anyway, another game I want to talk about is actually my favourite game on the system. And for some reason, nobody seems to know about this game. At least no one I talk to, anyway. Stubbs the Zombie. Let me put it this way. The world is drowned with zombie shit. There's too much stuff that's zombie-related nowadays. It's probably the fault of The Walking Dead, I don't know, but there's definitely too much zombie stuff. All about surviving the zombie holocaust, and all of that tedious bollocks. It's just been done to death, hasn't it? But Stubbs the Zombie, instead of trying to survive the zombie horde, you are the first zombie in a new zombie apocalypse. You are infecting everyone. You are on the other side of it. You are on the other side of the coin. Instead of trying to stay alive, you just want to go around and eat brains. Not to mention, the game's quite stupidly funny. It's goofy, but grown-up goofy, if that makes any sense. You can run up to someone and rip off their arm, and then that someone will say, That was my second favourite arm. Fucking hilarious. I am so gutted that this game never got a sequel. I have no idea why it never got a sequel. It's so much fun. Yes, it's stupid. It's like it's based in the 50s, but in a futuristic 50s. It's kind of tough to describe, but it's awesome. It's such a fun game. The story is okay. It's not exactly groundbreaking, but it's good enough for what it is. It's stupid, but not too stupid. It's gory as fuck. There's nothing more satisfying than going up to someone, eating their fucking brains, watching the corpse hit the floor. 2 seconds later, the corpse goes green, stands up, and runs after your enemies. It's like you're employing troops to kill the enemies with guns. It's brilliant. Another game I want to talk about is one it's very heavy on the plot. Very, very detailed on the plot. Dead or Alive Volleyball. This game, needless to say, is a masterpiece. I eventually got my own Xbox as a kid. Well, I say kid. When I got my first job, having left school, I saved up and bought a GameCube to go with my PS2, and then I bought an Xbox to go with my PS2 and GameCube. And, yeah, Dead or Alive Volleyball, yeah, it looks quite interesting in the game store. You know, I thought it was an intellectuals game. Challenging, of course. One deserves challenge in their gaming. And plot. Yeah, there's plenty of plot to this. Needless to say, it was an awesome game. And when my friends came round, they loved it for the plot as well. Most enjoyable game. Yes. Wonderful, really. Next game is Spawn. When it comes to comic books, I never got that into comics. I went through little stages in my life where I would buy a certain type of comic and read all of them, like Spider-Man ones. I would read loads of them, and then after a year or so, I just stopped because I missed a couple of issues, and that just fucked it. But with Spawn, I managed to stick with it longer than any other comic book character. But, of course, I did eventually stop reading it. And I remember when I found out about the film, I thought, oh my god, this is going to be awesome. And I was wrong. It's not. It's terrible. But then I managed to get hold of this game, and I thought, please let this be awesome. It ain't bad. But it definitely ain't great. And it kind of ends on a, well, that was a waste of time moment. Wap, wap, wap. It's not shit. But it is monotonous. You just seem to be doing the same stuff again, and running around, beating up demons and then angels, and generally getting quite bored of it. And when you see Malbolgia in the game, well, it's pathetic, really. That was really quite shit. Would I recommend this game? If you got it for cheap, like literally a couple of quid, then you've got your money's worth. But if it was anything like a tenner or £15, I would say a definite no. In case you're not familiar with the Spawn character, please check out the comics though. You just can't go wrong on the comics. You can go wrong on the film and this game. Other Spawn games, I can't think of any at the moment. Although Spawn did make an appearance in the next game I'm going to talk about, which incidentally is the last game I'm going to talk about. Soul Calibur 2. Now everyone got a chance to play this game. It was on the PS2, the GameCube and the Xbox. But there was a unique character to each console's version. In the GameCube version, your extra character was Link from Legend of Zelda. Now that is the tits, isn't it? That's just fucking awesome. In the Xbox version, you would think it'd be someone like the Master Chief or some bollocks, but I'm very happy to say it's Spawn. And that is also very, very awesome. But the PS2 got done. They had a Tekken character. Okay, Tekken's good. We can be happy with Tekken. Or rather, we could have been. But you gave us fucking Heihachi. I've never met anyone who says Heihachi is their favourite fighter. Jin, Kazuya, Yoshimitsu. Alright, Yoshimitsu is already in Soul Calibur 2, but whatever. Why Heihachi? Fucking could have thought on that one a bit harder, couldn't you? Anyway, Soul Calibur 2 was always such an awesome game. I didn't get to play any of the others for years. None of the sequels, nor the prequel. I I just never got round to it. But Soul Calibur 2 was a classic, legendary. The characters are awesome, the graphics is beautiful, the music is epic. I could go on and on. It's such a great game and well worth having in your Xbox collection. It was really cool that this was the new console on the block. Don't get me wrong, I fucking hate the Xbox 360. I think Microsoft completely blew it with that thing. It's unreliable and it breaks all the time. Whereas the original one was so strong, so tough. You could build a house out of these things. They're tougher than bricks. Like I said, everyone then seemed to have a PS2. Except for the one friend who had a GameCube and the other friend who had an Xbox. I was very lucky that I got to try these consoles. I was even more lucky that when I finally got a job I was able to afford buying them for myself. So for several years I'd be playing PS2 and GameCube and Xbox and Game Boy and all my old consoles because I never really got rid of them. I kept collecting and playing games. As I said, I got a job. I finally got my own place to stay at. I got a girlfriend and I was with her for 2 years. Life seemed to be going on the up. Everything was going well. Until one day everything went wrong. It went wrong quick. It went wrong big. And it was the worst time of my life.